Hello, deep soul divers. This is Sun in the 12th house video segment. In this video, I'm going to discuss having the Sun in the 12th house. The Sun in the 12th house is something that I have. I have Sun there and Venus. The 12th house, as we know, is ruled by Pisces. And so everything that's spiritual and mystical and cosmic consciousness and service to others and energy, feeling people's pain, being very sensitive to the environment, all of those energies, the energy of Pisces rules the 12th house. So having your main identity, the Sun, there is very important, because when your main identity is in the 12th house, which is the house of secrets and hidden things, who you really are and your personality is going to be very mysterious and very hidden from other people. So most people have no idea how deep and spiritual and caring and sensitive that Sun in the 12th house people are. When the Sun is in the 12th house, you are someone that wears your heart on your sleeve. You're very, very sensitive and very kind and very compassionate. There's a very strong compassionate nature with the Sun in the 12th house placement. When I started getting into astrology, what really sold me and made me really believe in astrology was when I got my first astrology book and did my chart for the first time. I was 16, and when I read about the Sun in the 12th house, it described me to a T, and it explained all of the mystical, unexplained experiences that I had as a child and growing up, where no one and nothing ever came close to explaining anything to me as far as why I had certain experiences and why I felt the way I did. And it described my personality to a T, and I knew there's something about this that's accurate. So I started researching the 12th house Sun, and I was fascinated by it. And I noticed that most people that I met that were spiritual and that were interested in astrology and in psychology and all these things were 12th house Sun people. And it was everywhere. I would end up doing a chart for someone in social work school or in college, and what do you know? They're a psych major, their Sun's in the 12th house, or they want to help people, they're very spiritual. And I started seeing these connections, and the one thing that I started researching really early on when I was in graduate school, I used to do charts for free back in the old days. I would just, send emails out to the campus, and I would meet people at Panera Bread, or the bookstore, and just do their chart. And anytime I had someone with the Sun in the 12th house, there were certain things that I realized. And what I learned early on was that most of the time there was an absent or missing father figure. And I wrote the article, The Sun in the 12th House, Suffering in the Father, about that. Because like clockwork, every time I did a chart with someone with the Sun in the 12th house, I'd say 98% of the time there was maybe 2 or 3 people that didn't fit the criteria, exactly. But most of the time, either the father figure, passed away or died when the person was young, or their parents divorced and their parents, separated, and they really never had a relationship with their father that was, deep. May have never even known their father. There's a lot of people that told me, I never even knew who my father was. Or my mother told me that, the guy in my house was my dad, but I found out when I was older that that's not really my true father. So lots of shocking things with the father. But the one trend that I saw the most was addiction of the father. Some type of addiction, often alcohol. And I think that's because, Pisces is ruled by Neptune, and Neptune rules alcohol and drugs and addiction and also spirituality. But there's oftentimes the father has an alcohol issue. And this is from my research. And, it's not 90, 100%, but 98, 99% of the time, if your sun is in the 12th house, you may have experienced your father suffering from some type of addiction. You may not have realized what it was until you got older and kind of moved out of the house or started studying psychology or counseling and learning about this. But there's often an absent or missing father figure, a feeling of that there's no bond, that there's a lack of connection with the father, especially when you're young and when you're growing up. Now, that does not mean that it will stay that way forever. I know a lot of sun in the 12th house people, myself included, that as I got older, I have a very stronger bond with my father, and we get along great. So, as you get older, it can change. But when you're young and when you're growing up, there's a mystery about your father. There's a secret. There's secrets about your father. A lot of times the father figure may suffer from depression, anxiety, especially depression, and where it causes them to withdraw. Maybe they work a lot. Maybe they're a workaholic and that's their addiction. And when they come home, they're just so tired, they sleep and you never see them. And they never come to your ball games and to your events and things like that. So it can manifest in many ways, but there's often some type of addiction with the father and some type of a feeling of not having a father. Even when you do, even if they're physically there and they didn't, pass away, die, there wasn't a divorce, people always tell me they feel like there was no connection with their father figure. And that's common. And so that's one of the things with the sun in the 12th house. Now, with the sun in the 12th house, it is the destiny of the person with this placement to serve others. This is the house of service. This is the placement of someone that has to help other people. And they have to put other people's needs and wants before their own. And they often do that. They're very self-sacrificing people. People with the sun in the 12th house often ignore themselves at times when they love someone or when they care about someone, and that's the natural energy of this placement. It's not that they choose to do it. It comes natural to them to focus on other people and to care about their friends and their family and to forget themselves in the midst of their helping. And they're meant to do that. They're meant to help others, but they need to have a good balance. Because they lack boundaries between themselves and other people. And you can read about this in my article, The Sun in the 12th House, too. But most of the time, they're wide open. So, in the younger days, growing up, they feel everything bad and good. They absorb people's negative emotions. They absorb people's positive, happy emotions. And they often can feel like they don't know where they begin and where someone else ends, because they feel people's pain. And I always describe it as it's like there's a sign on the sun in the 12th house person's back that says, "Come to me for healing, come to me for help, come to me if you want to learn about spirituality and God and cosmic consciousness, and if you want to have faith, come to me." So they have this sign on their back that people are very drawn to them like moths to the flame. It's a little bit of it's a different energy than the 8th house. And I've made some videos on that as well. But the 12th house energy is subtly different. They're similar, the 8th and 12th house energies, but different. The 12th house is more mystical, more spiritual, more enlightened, more advanced, and more like a higher energy, like a higher consciousness. It represents cosmic consciousness. So, connecting to the divine, connecting and realizing your oneness with everything and everyone, realizing that you are a spirit and a soul. So it's a different type of energy than the 8th house. Both are the spiritual, very spiritual houses, but the 12th is advanced in a way, because it's a lighter energy than the eighth, but it's also has a lot of suffering and pain that comes with it. That's why it's called the house of suffering and troubles and secret enemies. It's the house of secrets and hidden things. So when your identity's there might be a lot about yourself that you don't even know. So it's not, other people don't really always know you either and know your interests and your thoughts and your feelings, because you hide. You can be very shy and quiet and observant. Depending on where the sun sign is, that can change things. If it's in Aries, you're going to be more vocal. You're going to be more assertive than most 12th house sun people. Same if it's in Leo. You might, want to be out in the limelight a little bit more. I find that sun in the 12th house people are forced out into the limelight, or they're forced to be out in the public, even though they really don't want to. They're meant to. It can be a very good placement for doing any kind of spiritual work or working for the government. One thing that I find with the sun in the 12th house, a lot of people with the placement, a lot of them go into the military, and a lot of them are drawn to organizations where everyone dresses alike, behaves alike, acts alike, all those type of things. So military, joining a Buddhist convent, becoming a nun or a priest, a rabbi, all those type of things. Being hidden away, escaping from the world. Sun in the 12th house people like to escape. And they escape through being by themselves. They like their alone time. And these are people that can go, and be out in the world and have normal jobs, but they like to come home and be alone to recover. And I can say that for myself. I'm very social. I'm a social introvert. I'm definitely an introvert, but no one knows it. Like, everyone thinks I'm an extrovert because I'm talkative and I'm friendly, and I like to be around people to an extent, but I have to have my alone time too. So, I got to balance. Some sun in the 12th house people don't like being around people at all. They don't like big groups. They don't like being around, large crowds, because they feel overwhelmed by the energy of it. And they like being around one or two people at the same time, like small groups, or just, one or two friends. They don't like large groups. It can be hard for them. A lot of sun in the 12th house people tell me that they have experiences where they detach from their body, where they actually leave their body. And it's like they're looking in on themselves. It's a really strange feeling. I've had it happen. I remember it's happened several times in my younger days, not so much now that I'm older. I don't know why that is, but I think because I'm more grounded now than I was, because I was, kind of floating around. It seemed like I wasn't in my body. When I walked, I was like walking on air. I wasn't grounded and felt the ground underneath my feet. I learned to do that as I got older and meditated and learned spiritual techniques. But when I was young, I didn't. I was just like floating around out there, as I would describe it, just in another world. And when I would be in big crowds, it would be like it was a dream. It would feel like this is not real. This is a dream. And am I really here? Am I in my body? These strange physical experiences with reality. And so it's very important that sun in the 12th house people avoid drugs and alcohol, because of their natural ability to absorb their environment and to connect spiritually with higher levels of consciousness. If they use drugs and alcohol, it can really affect them, their mood, their mental health, their physical body. So it's the house of addiction. So a lot of sun in the 12th house people, because they're so sensitive and they're so emotional and caring and compassionate, it hurts to feel all that. So that's why I believe it's the house of escapism and addiction, because people want to escape from the world because they want to numb themselves. So sun in the 12th house people need to be careful about using, alcohol and drugs to numb themselves or escape. Now, addiction can take many forms. It's not just substances. It can be work. I used to be a workaholic. I work, work, work. That's how it manifested for me. I stay away from alcohol. I try to, limit that because, I know my chart, and I'm just more careful about it. Once you kind of know astrology and you know your placements, you can watch those kind of things to prevent, because I know I like it. I like the feeling of when I drink, and because it numbs me and it makes me relax, and it can become a crutch very easily for a lot of Sun in the 12th house people, especially when they're feeling anxious and they're feeling a lot of pain. It numbs it for a while, but it's a depressant. And so it's very important for Sun in the 12th house people to avoid depressants, because they already have a natural tendency to become depressed at times in their life, and emotional. They can feel very lonely at times and feel very different from other people, and they can get their feelings hurt very easily by their friends and family. They care a lot, and sometimes people don't realize how deeply they hurt, that they're hurt. They they can be hurt deeply by the words of others and the actions of others, but they will hide it, and they will repress it, and they will keep it secret because they don't know how to express it in words sometimes, or they just want to get along and be peaceful because they're peaceful people, so they won't express their anger or their frustration or their hurt with those they love, and they can stuff it, and they'll hide it, down and stuff it down. But what happens is it can blow up. It can come out when they're not even expecting it, and they can, get angry, and depending on where their moon is, if their moon's in Aries like me, they can blow up, and they can do rash, impulsive things, like send an email that they shouldn't send and do. They do an action that's on impulse because of the hurt they have, and they didn't express it or tell the person how hurt they were, and they're angry and they feel betrayed. So they can do things out of impulse if they don't let themselves feel. And so it's very important for Sun in the 12th house people to have a spiritual path. This is the house of service or suffering, and this is the house of putting God or the creator, universe, whatever you want to call it, whatever your beliefs are, whatever religion you are, to put it first, and to put yourself to go within and seek spiritual knowledge. This is the house of seeking spiritual knowledge. And when your main identity is there, you're going to be born with a natural interest in astrology and energy healing and helping others. Most Sun in the 12th house people go into the helping professions: nursing, medical, social work, counseling, working with children, spiritual, avenues, artistic. It's a very artistic abilities, music, painting, acting, all of those things. Johnny Cash had his Sun in the 12th house. So you can see, he was very musical and talented. So there's a lot of talents, artistic talents, that come with that Pisces 12th house energy too. So people usually have that as well. So the main thing to remember is to have faith and to be on some type of spiritual path is the way to maneuver this placement. It's the way to pull yourself up out of that depression, to pull yourself up out of that hurt and that heartbreak when it happens. And when you're out in the world and you feel and see all these things that are happening and all this unfairness, it helps you have a purpose. And Sun in the 12th house people, their purpose is to help others. And out of every placement, no matter of the Sun and all the 12 houses, the Sun in the 12th house is a blessing and a curse. The blessing is you have a lot of great spiritual gifts and psychic abilities, psychic experiences, mystical experiences, connection to others, and an ability to truly help people naturally. And that's the blessing. The curse is that you always feel alone. And no matter if you have people in your life and a family and you can love people, but you still feel lonely. And that is part of the 12th house. And that loneliness, I find through my research and through my own life, is to force us to seek the meaning of life. Because if you didn't feel pain and suffering, you wouldn't ask, why am I here? Why am I on earth? Why am I here? What is the purpose of this? And that's why the sun in the 12th house is such an important placement, because we are meant to find the answers to the mystical questions of the universe. We are destined to do that. Okay, more to come. Thank you.